Great, today we're going to review our vertical and horizontal lines. So this first line that we have is a horizontal line. We notice that every point on this line that's marked, if I write the coordinates down, this is -2, 2, this is 1, 2, and this is 3, 2. Notice how every single y value is 2. The equation of this line is just y equals 2 because it passes through the y value of 2 and the y value never changes. This line has a slope equal to 0. Okay, so this is my m. My b is also 2. So even if I thought about slope-intercept form, I would be plugging in a 0 for x, and I'd be plugging in a 2 for y, and the 0 times x means that 0x would just cancel out. Okay, so even if I forgot about this, if I knew my slope was 0, I could still figure out the equation of my line. Okay. If I couldn't remember that my slope was 0, we could try to count my rise over my run. If I was going from this point to this point, and I tried to do rise over run, I don't rise at all. So my 0 would go in the top, and I run over 3. 0 divided by any number is 0. So there's a few ways we can figure it out, even if we didn't memorize it. For this next one, I need you guys to make a line through these points. Okay. This line goes straight up and down. It's vertical. It is not ever going to touch the y-axis. So for my b value, there's no b value. Okay, no b value. For my slope, if I try to figure out my slope and I want to go from this point to this point, and I want to do rise over run, I would rise 2, and I don't run, I don't go left or right at all, so 0's in the bottom. When 0's in the bottom, that's undefined. We can't divide by 0. So this has an undefined slope. Okay, every vertical line has an undefined slope. So how do I write an equation of line for this? I don't have a slope, it's undefined, and I don't have a b value, so I can't write it in slope-intercept form. The only thing I know about all the points on this line, so if I were to write down my coordinates here, every coordinate has an x value of 2. So no matter, oops, I don't know why I wrote 3. No matter where I stop on my line, my x is 2. This is the equation of my line. Okay, so there's not really anything I can do with y equals mx plus b for this one. Okay, this one, let's put some arrows on the top and bottom of this line. Okay, it's a vertical line. If you need help remembering what to do, just pick a few points. The coordinates for these points, sometimes it might help to write them down. Okay, we'll notice that all of these are the same. So x is always -1. Okay, if you're asked what your slope is, it's undefined. Okay, if you forgot that it was undefined and you went to try to figure it out from here to here, we rise 2, we don't run at all. Your calculator could help you remember, because if you hit 2 divided by 0, it tells you error. Okay, you can't divide by 0. So that's your hint to tell you it's undefined. Alright, next one, we've got a horizontal line this way. Our y-intercept is -1. So I can look at that point and say it's 0, -1. I could pick another point on my graph. It's -3, -1. I could notice these are the same. And then that would tell me that my y is always -1. Or I could try to do my rise over my run. I don't rise at all. and I run 3, so my answer is 0. And again, in your calculator, if you type 0 divided by 3, it tells you it's 0. So your calculator would give you your slope. So my m is 0. This is going to be my equation. Okay, if you forgot, you could plug in the 0 and plug in the b, and this part would just cancel out. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can think about that. Alright, next. Number 1 says the line has a y-intercept of 5 and a slope of 0. So this is just telling me my b is 5, my slope is 0. So if I try to do y equals mx plus b, this part will cancel out, and I just get y is equal to 5. The line has an undefined slope and passes through this point. Whenever it's an undefined slope, that's your key to know it's an x equals problem. Okay, so it's x equals whatever my x value is. Okay, the line has a slope of 0 and passes through the point -2, 4. Okay, we can do this question 2 ways. If you remember that the slope of 0 means it's going to be a y equals, then you just pick the y value. If you didn't remember that, and you went to plug it into y equals mx plus b, then you could fill in the slope of 0, we could fill in the x value, we could fill in the y value, and we're going to get 4 equals b, because these are just going to cancel out, which would mean y equals 0x plus 4, which is just y equals 4. But that's a lot more work, so it's just easier to realize that this is y equals 4. Alright, next one. We have the line goes through these 2 points. So if it passes through these 2 points, we can do this question 2 ways. We might recognize that this is a y-intercept right here, but if we didn't recognize that, we could figure out our slope. We talked about slope and we talked about the formula. So I'm going to fill in everything. 3 minus 6 over 2 minus 0. So I get -3 over 2. When I go to plug this in, I'm going to have y equals mx plus b. If I didn't realize that was the y-intercept, I could plug in a 0 for x and a 6 for y. And I would get this to cancel out, so 6 is b. So y equals 6 is going to be my problem. Or my equation, sorry. Alright, the line goes through these points. So we're going to use our slope formula again, x1, y1, x2, y2, -1 minus 8, and 3 minus 3. When I subtract on the top, I get -9. When I subtract on the bottom, I get 0. This means it's undefined. Whenever it's undefined, it's telling you it's an x equals. It's a vertical line. What does x equal? X is always equal to 3. Okay, next question. x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be 5 minus 5 on the top and -2 minus 3 on the bottom. So I've got 0 on the top and -5 on the bottom. If I type that into my calculator, or if I know, 0 divided by anything is 0. So that's my slope. And then I can fill in y equals mx plus b with what I know. I'm going to use the first point. 5 is equal to 0 times 3 plus b. So 5 is equal to b. So if I filled everything in, I get y equals 5. Okay, and again, maybe you realized these were the same, so it's going to be a y equals 5 equation. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do that.